Okay. Okay, so we are here to hear your grievance for the homestead and the house site values on
Yeah,
your property. So, how can we help you today?
yeah, and I appreciate the time. I know there's a lot of moving parts with this stuff and the hearing coming up on Monday, so I wasn't really expecting this like along the way, so it was just helpful to connect on it. The first thing that I just like the real reason I like reached out to Mike on this and like just need to understand something very simply is if you look in the document I sent you guys
Mhm.
like 45 minutes ago.
Yep.
Um, I really don't understand the math from previous, like the last year. Like it's like 1,095,000, and then you move to the right, and those two numbers to the right like don't add up to 1,095,000.
No, they
Whereas like
don't.
you go to the updated year and all the math checks out. And so that's like question one. Like what is going on there?
Okay. So the homestead and house site values are the house. Did you read the document I sent you yesterday
I
about
did.
how
I
they're
I I
calculated?
I understand how they're calculated.
Okay.
From what I understand, the two numbers on the right have to add up to the number on the left, the total real
No,
estate value.
no, they really don't. So the house site is basically the house that you live in as your home, your primary residence,
Yeah.
and structures and site improvements, and 2 acres of the land. Okay, so if you own more than 2 acres of land, then the house site value will never equal the total real value. It's only the value of the first 2 acres plus whatever improvements are considered your primary dwelling and residence. The
Got
homestead
it.
value, okay, so the homestead value is going to be your all of the land plus whatever primary house and residence that you live in on the property. So that can be the whole value of the land, but it is not always. If there's any business or rental use of outbuildings, which means a house or a building or structure that you're not living in, that it is not your primary residence, that's not included in the homestead or the house site values. And in your case, the larger of the two houses on your property, the building at 872 Grassy Brook Road, is not your primary residence. That's not the house that you're living in. So that should not be included in your homestead or your house site values.
Yeah, and just to clarify there's only one address for our property. Like I've seen 874 thrown
There is
around.
two, because there is two structures, there are two houses. E911 rules dictate that there needs to be two different addresses
I've
because there,
never received a notice of that or been required to do that. I feel like you guys are just sort of like doing that on your end.
no, we're not doing that. That is on the E911 website.
But like
That's,
if you talk to the post office, they're not going to say there's an 874 Grassy Brook Road.
they should. There's no reason not to. E911 is for emergency purposes, so that if
Yeah.
somebody from the smaller house called for emergency services, emergency services would need to know
Yeah,
which
this is where
house
I
to go
think
to.
what we actually do here, just so you know, is we do like a unit one and unit two.
That's not, that is
It's
not permitted
it's
on,
just it's never been formalized. Like no, there
okay,
is no
I'm
874.
not, I am not here to argue about your address and what the
Sure. I'm
E911
just
rules
checking in
are.
with you,
Right.
like just because it can get things twisted if you think they're two parcels, is all I'm saying. So as long as you
No, there's
understand that
not,
there's
there's
one
only one
parcel,
parcel. There are two
yeah.
dwellings. There are two dwellings there, and you can only live in one dwelling at a time, right? And so you live,
I don't know if I would agree with that, but okay.
okay. Um, so the smaller of the two dwellings is my understanding of that's where you live. You're not living in the larger of the two. I don't know that it is possible to live in both of them at the same time. That would be a
Yeah,
discussion for
imagine you had like a family of six,
the.
you'd live in both.
Again, that is my understanding is that you live in the smaller of the two and you rent out the larger of the two. So that
Yep.
would not be considered homestead or house site. That's how these values were calculated.
Got it. And
Okay.
so, just so I understand as well what I said in my email, like I don't, I'm a resident, just so we're like on the same page. Like I'm a
Mhm.
resident, but I don't enter a homestead declaration. So I understand that these are like the homestead values, but does that have any
Right.
implication here? Like
Well, there you
I'm
did
not
file
homesteading.
the homestead and the house site values are only come into play and only have any effect if you file a homestead declaration.
Right.
And this year, we got a file from the state that indicated that you had filed a homestead declaration.
Can you send that to me? Because that's not accurate.
It's a data file that comes over from this state. I will.
Okay. So I think it is fair for me to ask the town to check in with the state there because I didn't file a
We
homestead
are
declaration.
we are the town, and the
Yeah.
data comes directly. It gets loaded from the state. I will
Right. But I
see
file
what
a
I can
homestead
find,
declaration
and I we will
and you get a
absolutely.
copy of it, no?
No, we don't get a copy of the homestead declarations. The
So
state
do you
has it,
see my
and they
issue
send it.
here? This is like a false homestead declaration. Like I
Okay,
didn't file
it's
one because
possible. It's entirely possible. Go ahead.
I want to say I would probably call the state Department of Taxes and talk to them about it because we won't be allowed to
okay.
talk to them on behalf of you, just like it came up last week with
But so you're
another resident.
saying, just so I have it right when I talk to the state, you are saying that on your end, you have received, and you can't share it with me, that what you received.
What we received from the state is a data file. It's a one-line thing.
But can you imagine I call the state and they're like,
Right.
we show that you haven't filed a
Okay.
homestead declaration. I'm like, well, the town is saying that I did, and I have no
Right.
proof. Like, how do I
Right.
talk to the state about it?
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I would absolutely, you should call them, ask them why the town is showing you having a homestead declaration file.
And
And
my
they would
theory
let
is
us
is
know.
that the town didn't update. Like, I think there was a homestead declaration like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
And then I didn't file it. And then I think on some level it becomes either the state or the town needs to be like, oh, we need to like uncheck this box, you know?
no, that's not the way it works. So this every year, the all of the homestead declaration boxes are unchecked for all the properties in town.
Okay, so then
When,
something just went
when
wrong.
can I finish my sentence? So when the state receives a new homestead declaration, that comes over in a data file for one specific year. It's not for past, it's not for
Okay,
historical
I totally get it.
years.
Something went wrong. And I just need to figure
Okay,
out where. And I'm glad we talked about it because it's my last
absolutely.
Yeah.
question. And then I hope
All
you guys
right.
have a nice holiday.
And
What are the implications here, which I imagine are mostly property tax
Hmm?
implications of me being falsely listed as homesteading on the property?
The implications of falsely listing
Like
homestead.
yeah, like I'm
I
not homesteading, but on your end it's showing that I am. Like, what are the implications of that?
the There are no implications. We receive a data file from the state that loads into our brand list software that if we get nothing, there is no homestead for that property. If we get the data file says that there was a homestead declaration for that file, then that's loaded. It's nothing that we do. It comes directly from the state and it's loaded by it. We download the file and it inserts itself. There are no,
Yeah.
I know that the state
Interesting.
requires that if you live in your home for 180 days or more for the year, they require that you file the homestead declaration.
yes, yeah. So if you're a resident of Brookline, you're required to file it.
Right.
Not if you exceed the
Everyone
income.
is.
Not if you exceed the income limits.
You still have to
No.
file the declaration that
Everyone does.
everyone does.
That
That's
doesn't
not.
make any sense. All right, I'm lost here, guys. Not everyone in town files a homestead declaration.
If you are a resident in Brookline for
Yep.
180 days or more, the state of Vermont requires you to file a homestead declaration.
This is the distinction. This is what I said in my email. I talked to the treasurer in Newfane, and she disagrees with you.
Okay,
So I'll look into it. I'll talk to the state. I
okay.
think there will be some implications of this being mislisted because it definitely has like tax and flow through implications. But my last real question is, and this is I'm going to ask Marjorie this if this is the right she's the right person to ask, but I haven't seen an updated property tax like you know one pager, if you will, with our like quarterly payments. Has that gone out yet?
No, they have, it hasn't gone out yet. They haven't calculated the new tax rates yet.
Is
So
that
the
related to
new
like the
tax,
school thing?
that is, I think that they, because the school budget didn't pass until the 17th, I think that the state has 30 days to send the town what the homestead education rate will be. And I
Okay.
don't think that they
And
have
then
done
like
that.
you guys have more experience than I do. When would you expect, based on that roughly, that we'll get our property tax?
I would guess in the next couple of weeks. I don't know exactly when the state will provide the town with the homestead education rate. And
Okay.
the town can't send out new tax bills until they get that information from the state.
Got
So,
it.
so it could be wait until after the 17th, I think, which is the 30-day mark. I don't know if the state's going to take that
Yeah.
long or
No, it's
not,
all good. I was just curious.
but
I was just worried that
yeah.
like something was getting held up with our
Oh, no, no,
property tax
no,
because of all this
no,
stuff going on.
no,
Sounds
it
good.
is okay.
We're all in the same boat.
Okay,
Um,
so if
The
there's,
the last question, and this is just like a procedural one that I just don't
uh,
understand because you said in your email that like after the state hearing, we can grieve that with the town, but then we can also appeal the state decision. So how
I don't
how
know
does
how
that
it
work?
works. I don't know how it works if you want to appeal the state decision or not. After the state has heard the case and made their decision, they
Yeah,
will indicate what the new property value for your parcel is.
yeah.
And that will not be able to be changed for 3 years unless there is a major change in the property or another reappraisal. I don't
Yeah.
know if the state will assign new homestead and house site declaration, I mean, values as well. That
Huh.
is up to the state. I don't know how that process works. Um,
Interesting. Yeah, you can see where
but
like from putting yourself in my shoes, like this is quite complicated. I do feel like
it
there's
is. Oh, it
a
is
scenario
absolutely.
in which like doesn't it almost like the circle resets and like we're back down to the town level and then you're grieving at the town level and then you're back to the beast like that is sort of like my understanding of what you're saying where we can grieve at the town level the state's decision. Does that make sense?
I don't think that you could grieve the value of the parcel. I think my understanding would be and I don't know this for a fact. We'd have to
Yeah.
check with it's the allocation of the homestead and the house site. I think that if the state does not specify what the homestead and the house site values are, I would guess, and this is just a guess, I would guess
Yeah.
that you could grieve that with the town, and then
Yep.
that would go through the next things. But I don't know that for a fact, and
Yeah,
unfortunately,
neither
our
do I.
district rep, right,
What one step at a time.
right,
I think the other thing is just like, let's say, my mom, who's like aging, moves into the larger house in 2027. How do I update the town that, I don't know, she's homesteading and there is no like rental? Like, what's the process there? Because no one's ever told me how to
it's
like,
when you file the homestead declaration.
okay, and is it what you're saying is it's two homestead declarations because of this
But
like double address situation?
if no, it has nothing to do with the double address. It's because there are two dwellings on the property. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when you and your brother first bought the property
Yeah.
and you filed homestead declaration for it,
Yeah, and
and then
COVID.
I believe and both of the right one of you was
Yeah.
living in one house, one was the other. And that
COVID,
was
COVID
fine
era.
because
Yeah.
Right, because you were both on the deed, right? So now
Yep.
that you are the only person on the deed, you can only, again, you can only be living in one house. That is the way I
Even if I
understand.
have like a spouse and dependents, like that's it
I,
comes down to the deed.
my understanding of it would be that yes, you're still only living in one house.
And if I wanted to like
Right?
get to the bottom of that, that would be talking to the
That would
state.
be that would be a state question, right? You would need to talk to probably to the homestead department, but
Well,
the
just
state
and
would
I'll
be
get
able
back
to
to you
answer
because
all
you
that,
guys
right?
probably want to know that too. But like the question there is like, can a party of one, if you will, live in two buildings on a parcel
Right.
and
And my
therefore
right,
homestead in those two buildings? That's the
uh,
question.
kind of, yeah, I guess it is. That would be my understanding of it. Yeah.
And then if I literally just added my wife to the deed, then you would have a party of two and it wouldn't be a question.
I don't think that that is the way that I would interpret it. Again, I'm not a real estate lawyer. I am not the state. What we
Yeah.
do is try to understand what the state is demanding and do the best we can with our understanding. Again, even if it was you and your wife, I would think that you would be living in one house.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would play out with the homestead declaration. That would be a question for the state.
Interesting. I'm glad we chatted. I
Right.
might be leaving with more questions than answers, but that's okay.
I know
Um,
it's yeah, it's a yeah, it's a tough thing. But so yeah, well, we will be sending out our decision, I believe, within the next 7 days on this hearing, if you don't have anything else.
nope. I think for this moment in time, that's accurate, and then I think it will all change again. So we'll be good
I,
for now. And just on the same page, because I think you probably know more than I do, as always. Um, do you have any expectation of when we'll hear from the state, or is it just like God only knows and it has to be in
I,
this calendar year? That's what I seem to
oh, you
understand.
mean when they'll send their decision? I don't know. I would guess that would be within 30 days, but I really didn't ever guess that it would have taken this long to get to the state hearing either.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's just
yeah.
because they had a lot of them, from what I understand from like the
Yeah,
court.
no, I think so too.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
but I mean, yeah, I really have no idea.
Yeah.
I'd guess 30 days, but that's
Keep an eye on the
just a guess.
mailbox
Right,
situation.
exactly. Yeah,
Cool. All right. Well,
right.
thank you both. I hope you have a good 4th of July, and
Thanks, you
thanks for
too.
the insights. I appreciate the time.
Okay, bye.